Hello everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of Let's Build, where I build it, and I'm here to actually explain it this time. Again, the last two episodes we had guest stars. We're not here to talk about that. We're here because I promised to bring you a new version of Tiragon OTK, or as we've renamed it, Level 1 Beatdown. This took a little bit of work to figure out because not very many people experiment with Tiragon because it's honestly a pretty bad card. The 3 materials for its effect is just not worth it. But I continue to experiment with a level 1 machine build, and the people online were using some of the mech emperors back from the 5Ds eras to try to get the OTK off. That it just wasn't consistent and it wasn't working well. So I was trying to figure out how to make it better. And I was on my lunch break at work watching some older videos on YouTube when I came across a certain video from a certain Yugi No about a card called Treasure Panda. Instead of any more of a longer introduction, let's see the chaos. Alright, everybody? Let's build level 1 Beatdown.
You are my best friend forever. We won't ever let
everybody, let's dig into this deck profile because this is a complicated deck that requires a little bit of explaining. So the basic principle of this deck is you are going to, as you saw in the replays, dig until you get to one of your win conditions and attempt to win the game. This deck does not survive a grind game. It's burning way too many resources to try and go into a grind game, and this deck does not care about advantage. Card advantage is very important. This deck is one of those decks that's just going to vomit out half of its deck in a 10-hour-long turn to try and win the game, and that turn or come damn close to it. So let's go through the cards. I'll explain some of the combos a little bit that you saw in the replays, and we will go about our day. So first up, you have Water Spirit, 3 copies of Goblin Calligrapher, 3 copies of Kosaki, you've got 3 copies of Skull Servant, 1 copy of the left arm, and 1 copy of the right leg of Exodia, 3 copies of Flamel Guard, 1 copy of Red Eyes Tomb Dragon, 1 copy of Treasure Panda himself. Get my microphone closer so you can hear me better. Ah! Don't fall. Again. 3 copies of Summoner Monk, 3 copies of Allure of Darkness, 1 copy of 1-for-1, 2 copies of Triangle Power, 1 copy of Cards of Consonance, 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Hard Destruction, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Magical Mallet, 3 copies of the Toon Table of Contents, 3 copies of Tri-White, 1 copy of World Legacy Succession, and 2 copies of Called by the Grave. For the extra deck, the Wild West of this deck, you have 1 copy of TG Hyper Librarian, 1 copy of Martial Metal Marcher, 2 copies of Formula Synchron, 1 copy of Baby Dragon, 1 copy of number 54 Lionheart, 1 copy of Wincon, aka Borrelsword Dragon, 2 copies of Saryuja Skull Dread, 1 copy of Eco Talker, 1 copy of Lamp for Inkush, 2 copies of Link Spider. So as said, this deck features prominently a bunch of cards to dig deeper and deeper into your deck to try to set up for a win. So why do we run the 1-stars that we do? Well, Flamel Guard and Water Spirit are 1-star tuners. That is the whole reason they are in the deck. All the other cards are 1-star dark monsters. They work with Allure of Darkness, that is why. And they have the highest attack power for their level and attributes. That's it. That is why you run those cards. There's no other reason. Why do we run Toon Red Eyes? He is a dark attribute, and he is the end of the Toon Engine. The Toon Engine features him and your 3 Toon Table of Contents. You will cycle through your Toon Table of Contents to fuel your Treasure Panda, and then either special summon Red Eyes using Saryuja for extra beat power, which you can't use that turn, so he's grindy in that case, or you will use Allure of Darkness to get rid of him, or use 1-for-1 to get rid of him for something that is more useful for the deck overall. Because you have room in the extra deck, you could theoretically put in a level 7 or level 8 Synchro, like Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, or Stardust Dragon, or whatever level 8 Synchro of your choice, to help perpetuate the deck even better, and give him more use. Next up is the all-star of this deck, the one, the only, the Treasure Panda. His effect is that you can banish up to 3 spell traps from your graveyard to special summon a normal monster whose level is equal to the number of spell traps you sent. The thing that makes him abusable in this deck is that it is not once per turn. That means you can just keep doing it to continuously set your board as long as you have spells in your graveyard and level 1 normal monsters in your deck. You want as many level 1 monsters in your deck as possible. Excuse me. So, when you were doing stuff like using Saryuja's ability to shuffle back in, You really want to shuffle back in your level 1 monsters if you have Treasure Panda out on the board. Now, after my phone goes off, but it's on vibrate this time, Summoner Monk. Why are we running 3 copies of Summoner Monk and not 3 Treasure Pandas? Because Treasure Panda, you only want 1. You only want the 1 on the board at a time. Summoner Monk gives you 3 more instances of being able to summon him unless they have a good old Ash Blossom. But Summoner Monk also deactivates, which allows you to get to your win conditions better, because it removes 1 copy of Treasure Panda upon his effect. He's also a level 4 monster, so if you pop out a level 1 tuner, you can go into TG Hyper Librarian to draw extra cards when you summon Formula Synchron. Or draw a card if you go into the level 3. Out of breath already, and we're not even all the way through the deck. Lurid Darkness will help you dig through your deck. That is why it is here. 1 for 1 allows you to set up your board a little bit better and get rid of a monster that might be plaguing your hand. Triangle Power is a pseudo win condition. You want to dig for this card as much as possible. Honestly, I would suggest kicking out cards for consonants for a 3rd copy. It is that important. It is what enables the Baby Dragon OTK of the deck. It can allow you to use your 1-star level 1 normal monsters to beat over your opponent or beat your opponent's face in if you have the opportunity. What it does, is if you have not read the screen yet, is it increases the original attack and defense of all level 1 normal monsters, except tokens, by 2,000 points on your side of the field. At the end of the turn, you do have to destroy them all, but the whole idea is for them not to have an end phase. You are not going to have an end phase if this deck does what it's supposed to. So, moving on to Upstart, it helps you dig through your deck. Card Destruction. You can fill your graveyard with spell cards if you don't need to use them or can't use them, and allows you to dig through your deck. Monster Reborn is an extender and can steal your high attack point. Set up monsters that your opponent uses. Magical Mallet is a neg 1 that I normally would not suggest running. I personally love the card and used it for years, but at the same time, it's normally not very useful. In this deck, though, it is a spell trap to power Treasure Panda, and can shuffle back in a handful of level 1 Bricky monsters back into the deck for Treasure Panda to summon, and hopefully get you to your win cards. Toon Table of Contents offers the Toon Engine we already discussed. So moving along to Try White. This is a powerhouse card in this deck. This card is a 1-card Baby Dragon. It is a 1-card Lionheart. You just need to have 3 level 1s in your graveyard, and this card will bring them back. So, it can also, because of Link shenanigans and other things, and Synchro shenanigans, can lead into a 1-card or 2-card Borrelsword or Saryuja. It can really help you get into Saryuja. So you do want to see 1, if not 2, in your hand as quickly as possible. Normally 1. So, what about World Legacy Succession? It is an extender card, because you will be using Saryuja once, if not twice, every single game. He's a lead monster. This can allow you to set up your board and extend, because it special summons a monster to a zone arrow. This card could theoretically be replaced with something like Silver's Cry, but this can also resurrect your Treasure Panda along with Monster Reborn in case if something tragic happens, like they kill it. Called by the Grave is there to answer Ash Blossom or Ghost Ogre or Effect Veiler. If anything tries to stop your Treasure Panda, this will stop them from stopping your Treasure Panda. Now, an important thing to note about Treasure Panda, though, is he does not care about Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom does not permanently negate his effect, just the one-time activation. So if they ask to do something stupid and Ash Blossom your Treasure Panda, you just lost 1 use of him, and you can keep comboing now. Ghost Ogre and Effect Veiler will stop him dead in his tracks, either by killing him and giving you 1 summon, or negating his effect. Unfortunate. That's why we run the Called by the Graves. Infinite Impermanence, the great $80 card, though, It gives no fucks and will stop your treasure panda dead in that treasure panda's tracks. So let's go to the extra deck. The extra deck, and the reason why I call it the Wild West of the deck, is out of everything, it is what I consider the least polished. One, it's only 13 cards, because I couldn't really think of what else I wanted to put in at the time. So, TG Hyper Librarian. If you Synchro Summon a monster, draw a card. It is really powerful, but this deck does not Synchro spam. It's just there to give you a little extra push with damage and a little extra push with card drawing. That is what it does. Martial Metal Marcher basically is in there to kind of free up zones in case you're trying to get into something like Borrelsword requires effect monsters, or you're trying to free up a couple one zone or a couple zones to try to get into another Tririte use. Either way, this is one of the cards that could easily be taken out for something of higher value. Next up, Formula Synchron. When Synchro Summon, draw a card. That's why it's in there. And it can help you go into Borrelsword because it's an effect monster, and you can trade 2 normal monsters for an effect. Baby Dragon is the win condition. Why does he kind of suck? He requires 3 materials. But he can allow up to 3 level 1s to attack directly. So when you use it in combination with Triangle Power, you can hit your opponent for a guaranteed 6k. So you just have to figure out how to get a 2001 push. If you are lucky enough to have both of your Triangle Powers, which happened during testing a couple of times, you will have game basically guaranteed, because that is 12,000 damage. And this deck can usually supplement this. Saryuja gives buffs to damage, so on and so forth. A card I actually have thought about is Witch's Apprentice. This is a mostly dark deck. That card would increase the attack power by 500, so that'd be another 1,500. Up next, Lion, number 54, Lionheart. He also requires 3 level 1 monsters. But when he is involved in battle, your opponent takes effect damage equal to the battle damage you took. But during the damage step, you can remove an NFC's material. Your opponent takes the battle damage from that battle. That does not trigger out both abilities. They're not going to take double damage. But, you know, as you saw during the Blue Eyes match, your opponent can take 2,900 to the face, which can really help out quite a bit. Borrelsword is an OTK machine. Most of you should be familiar. He can basically, as long as you have one other monster on the field, that can be changed into defense position. He can attack twice, and when he attacks an opponent's monster, he can gain half of their attack till the end. And he can basically OTK half the time. So yeah, he's mean, because he also halves your opponent's damage. So it basically makes he's going to deal 3,000 damage no matter the cost. He's a Miroku on crack. Oh, I feel so old and out of shape with this deck. I'm trying to talk about everything. Saryuja is your key to this deck. You will go into 2 almost every game, which can make every game last forever because of how many times you have to go into him. This deck could theoretically go into 3, but it would require basically everything the deck had. So 2 is where we go. The main thing, you basically use all of his abilities, because if a monster is normal or special summoned to a zone he points to, they're going to gain 300 attack. That's 900 extra damage for trying to set up your Baby Dragon OTK. Most of the time, though, you will only get 600, but a word of advice: if your opponent has not used up the extra slot, you can try to make Baby Dragon on your first Saryuja, and then use the other zone to have an open Saryuja. It's situational, it doesn't happen very often. But he can also special summon a monster from your hand, so you can get out Red Ice Toon Dragon. He can help you get out Treasure Panda. You can drop a Summoner Monk, I guess, or you can just drop another level 1 to continue to help set up. But his big ability, though, if I don't have a heart attack or die of no oxygen before I finish explaining, When he is link summoned, you can draw 4 cards, then place 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. Basically, dig, try to get to your win conditions. Now, the thing to remember with him is his special summoning conditions. He requires 2+ monsters with different names. So many times in testing, I accidentally screwed up with Treasure Panda, and I summoned 2 monsters that did share a name. And his effects, you gain the effects as you do with different names. You always want to special summon him with 4 monsters with different names. Every time, all the time. Every time, all the time. Every time you summon him with this deck, do it with 4 monsters with different names. No negotiations on it. So Deco Talker. Deco Talker is basically here because you can almost guaranteed set him up as a 2,300 attack power. It's 500 attack for each monster you points to. And if your opponent activates an effect, our card or effect that targets a card you control, you can tribute a monster to destroy that card and negate it. You're not going to use it too often. You're usually going to stop at either Saryuja or Borrelsword and not backtrack to decode or work into decode and scale upwards. So what do we have next? Lan Volinkus. Honestly, in this deck, all he serves purpose-wise is to help clear up zones for Tri-White or something of that nature. You can honestly replace him with Lee Witcher's Apprentice. Full honesty there, just replace him. I didn't really think about it until now, but it would be a better, better card all around, all together to just replace. Moving on to a card you should not replace is Link Spider, though. It requires a normal monster to summon, and then you can special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your hand to a zone it points to. So you can normal summon, link into him, normal summon, and that's 2 monsters instead of just the 1 that you would normally get off level 1. It's very useful and can really help you set up. And it can help get rid of some level 1s out of your hand, and that's 2 monsters with different names for Saryuja already. And also, he can help you lead into a Borrelsword dragon. He can help you lead into a Borrelsword dragon, because if you summon a normal monster, you can just swap out for a Link Spider if you have the available extra monster zone slots, or Link slots. And boom, he's now an effect monster instead of a normal monster, which is the requirements for Borrelsword. So that is the deck. I don't really like playing decks like this. I prefer decks that have more simple combos and simpler boards. This deck doesn't even set up an impressive board. I'm sure someone out there is looking at this and is like, man, you're thinking about this all wrong. It shouldn't be a beatdown deck. It should go into some kind of crazy setup with 7 to 25 negates or whatever it have. But this is what MQT kind of requested for, just to make deck challenge in real life, which is a grind deck that focuses on slowly but surely summoning level 1 monsters, because it was built way back in the early Xyz era, into kind of a more aggressive, much faster beatdown. Although faster is objective, because instead of spending a bunch of back and forth turns, it now just takes all that time in one extremely long, boring turn. Again, a special thanks to Super Freak, whoever you may be, for allowing me to have a game where I got Baby Dragon and Borrelsword on the board. And a special thank you guys for watching this. If you guys have any either critiques or suggestions for this deck, put them down in the comment section down below. Because, if anybody wants to build this deck, and they already have some access to information of how to make it better from you guys, who are way better players than I am, then that would be appreciated from them and me. And if you have a deck you would like to see me build and play on a video, put it down in the comment section down below. This deck was basically requested by MQT herself, so you guys know I will look into it and possibly try to build it, and who knows what crazy way I will go ahead and build it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, And hey, have fun.